What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. Sometimes I think we forget that social media platforms are designed to best understand human nature. Everything from the beginning of how they started with the like and poke button for subtle acknowledgement without really having to reach out to somebody, to the social media networks turning into social media platforms when the reshare button was added and made the world smaller in a sense with how fast news started traveling. And all the way to now where short form videos like TikTok and Instagram Reels are here to match our overstimulated minds and our shrinking attention spans. Every feature is trying to reverse engineer human nature. Every failed project like IGTV was something that did not exactly understand or cater enough to our inner desire. They didn't truly understand it or get it. And I say that sometimes we forget this because it has come to a point now where the algorithms, these platforms, know more about us than we know of our own selves and our own nature. And one of those features emulating real life is what I wanted to talk about today. And this is not a conversation about the platforms or social media. It's about human nature. It's about taking cues from how these platforms are structured to remind ourselves the things that we have forgotten. On every platform, there is a story feature. I think the beginnings of this started with Snapchat by posting something that was meant to expire in 24 hours. On Instagram, this has become an add-on feature to compete with Snapchat. So Instagram kept their main timeline for posts and added on a 24-hour section on the top for stories. And depending on the nature of what you want to share, you might designate it to be something that should expire in 24 hours, or if it's something more important, you might post it on your actual timeline so it can live longer before it gets buried by your other posts. And even then, it's still never really gone. It always remains in your timeline as something that is defining, telling you something about that account or person. What kind of niche are they in? What kind of things they are interested in? What do they talk about? And if you're like me, for a while, you might only exist in the story area. Maybe you don't know what to post on your timeline, or maybe you treat it like an art gallery and it has to be carefully curated. Or maybe you just aren't ready for another piece of content to define you and live longer on your timeline. So you exist only in stories. It's low pressure enough because you can post anything and it expires in 24 hours. And it's less discoverable. So it's probably only the people you know that will watch it. And unless you're doing some other activities to attract new eyes to your page, it's going to be an intimate group. So stories give you this safe haven feeling of allowing yourself to make mistakes and letting those mistakes, or whatever it is that you post, letting them not define you past 24 hours. There's something freeing about that feeling. Another day and another you that you can present while the past day stories start fading away. And so I couldn't help but notice this human nature tendency of ours that has been built into these social media platforms. And I need to extend the almost literal metaphor. There are ways you go about in life, emoting, expressing, existing in any way. And some of those ways you go about are absolutely meant to be defining and maybe things you should stand by. But I don't think I would be too out of line if I said, unless you live very much by principle, most likely though, 90% of the ways that you express yourself on a day-to-day basis, you probably wouldn't want to be known for. You would probably like it and benefit from it if there was a way that it was gone and forgotten in 24 hours. And it's a good thing that everybody you know doesn't get to see you at all hours of all day, because you probably wouldn't want to be defined by those things. And although there's no way to Men in Black erase the people's memories who were involved in the way that you were yesterday, What I think that we often forget is that people's memories aren't as good as what we think they are. And they're kind of open to what you are today. And so we don't have to be stuck in or continue the tonality in a relationship with a person that we had yesterday. You don't have to pick up from where you left off there. You have the ability on a daily basis to reset, refresh, and start anew. And I mean that in every possible way. You have the opportunity to choose what it is that you want to stay around longer, as in your repeated behavior, and what it is that you don't have to feel attached to because you have escalated commitment in that way already. In some ways, and in many ways, you are able to get a clean palette with people, with yourself, with life in general, as long as you wake up today with different energy and you start moving full force in a different direction. There's no reason for why the way you were yesterday would not be soon forgotten, barring any unreasonable behavior that leaves an emotional wake for you and other people involved. For 90% of the ways that you are every day, you can let go of it and move on. It can be consciously done, especially if you don't like how you feel at the end of the day. If you don't like how you feel, it's a way to know that maybe you can not have to repeat the same day, the same way you were. If you express anger frequently, or if you find yourself lost in judgment of people, or have any ill will or hate you express, even in your thoughts, repeated, the only thing that is keeping it there, defining you, is your repeated occurrence of it. It's like reposting the same story over and over again. And there's a reason why they call it story on these platforms, because it's meant to be personal and a place for you to share intimacy. And essentially, it exhibits the story you tell yourself about yourself and live by that people get to see. And let's not forget that it expires in 24 hours. Open again for you the next day to tell a different story. How useful would it be if you just told the same story every day? Not much, right? Then why do you repeat the same stories you hold of yourself in your head over and over again? Why not let them expire? Why not renew them the next day? Why not tell a different story? Not every way that you were yesterday needs to define you today. It's okay to reflect, compartmentalize parts of you, and shed others. It would be a shame if you put more thought into how you present yourself on a social media platform and less into how the way you show up in your real life on a day-to-day basis and how that defines you. There's a part of you that are okay to live for 24 hours. You can play in this part. You can make mistakes in this part. On an everyday basis, you can play. You don't have to be defined by the mistakes that you make today. That should free you. You don't have to give those things a longer life than is needed. Let them expire. Because life is too short. Some things don't belong on your timeline. They don't have to define you. It is only repeated behavior that does. So you can wake up today and choose what it is that you want to repeat. If you like the way you felt at the end of your day, repeat those behaviors. But if not, if you are stuck in a rut in your life or in a relationship and the tone of it isn't what you wished it would be, you can wake up tomorrow and do it differently. Love you, family. Stay true, always. See you on the next show.